Africa has no shortage of universities, institutions, or leadership programmes, yet challenges in governance and leadership remain. This is where the African School of Governance ASG comes in, aiming to develop leaders and policies rooted in Africa's realities. To understand the vision behind ASG and the gap it seeks to fill, we spoke to Mr. Francis Gatare, the president of the African School of Governance.
The African School of Governance is an initiative that His Excellency President Paul Kagame of the Republic of Rwanda and His Excellency Haile Mariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, an initiative that they put together. It's an initiative coming out of their consciousness that Africa is at a critical stage today. Through their experience, they came to a conclusion that while Africa continues to lag behind the rest of the world, there are critical lessons from the rest of the world that we need to take stock of, particularly lessons around leadership. In their experience, they had come to a conclusion that societies develop on the basis of the caliber of leaders they have, and that leadership is very important in every community, in every organization that aspires to change. But they also came to a conclusion that while leadership matters, the character of a leader is the most important ingredient that causes the needed change to happen. And looking around, they did not see sufficient opportunities for leaders to be trained in that aspect: character, ethics, values, mindsets. In their experience, they had seen a lot of very talented Africans, experts in their fields, fail to deliver results that their communities expected them to do. And they tasked us to understand why and review what other societies have done. How could you have people that are talented, well-trained, experts, once put in charge of areas that they should naturally be the most competent at, still fail to deliver the results? And the conclusion was that there are three aspects of a leader that makes one succeed. One aspect is the technical competence, which you can achieve in any school, in any university. You can be a good economist, a good engineer, a good doctor, a lawyer. This you can learn from any school, in Africa or outside Africa. But it does not make you a good leader, even in the field where you have your domain expertise. And so we learned that that needs to be supported by also learning about management tools, managing organizations, managing society, but most importantly, managing oneself. That there is a science actually about managing oneself. Thirdly, that even when you are a good manager, it doesn't make you a leader. And we were tasked with looking into how you can actually get a good expert, train them in management, and turn them into good leaders. The conclusion was that the character and the values and the ethics that one lives by shapes who they are as a leader, and especially whether you are going to be a good one or not. And there are three things that we discovered that the African School of Governance needed to focus on in that leadership journey. One is identity. Who do you really think you are? Who you think you are determines who you are loyal to. And your loyalty determines your performance, because the scope of your performance is driven by that loyalty. And so we discovered that a lot of African leaders, and when we talk about leaders, we use it loosely. You know, we are all leaders in our domains, high and low, middle, everywhere. That a lot of people don't see themselves as real Africans. Their identity is very local, very narrow, very tribal, highly ethnic. Even those who think that they are superior, they think more nationalistic than African. And so our task is to create leaders that see their identity as Africans beyond their narrow focus on their identity that is, that local. Why is that important? It's important because as leaders in any domain, we must recognize that the success of one depends on the success of others.
Okay.
When you go to national level, it's even more pronounced. The success of every country in Africa depends on the success of many other countries, especially nearby at a regional level. And so the identity and the emphasis on one being African is very critical to defining leaders that have loyalty to Africa, that goes beyond their narrow ethnic, tribal, national identity, so that you can begin to aspire to contribute to the continent's development. That's number one. The second thing that we discovered that African School of Governance needed to focus on in training leadership is the idea of privilege. You look at our continent, there are very few people that have privilege in authority, privilege of education, especially higher education, privilege of resources, access to resources, privilege of having platforms like this to talk, to speak to the public. And how leaders relate to privilege defines their success or lack of it. Unfortunately, a lot of privileged leaders on our continent at all levels, at many levels, have used the privilege they have to serve themselves. Already they are powerful and privileged, but they use that privilege to further entrench their privilege, taking resources from their communities, taking advantage, when they could have been serving people to achieve good results. Which then brings us to the third element of good leadership, the purpose in life. So at ASG, we engage our leaders, participants, into discussions about one's purpose, to reflect on the mortality of a person. You are here for a period, you're not here after a while. Eventually, everybody dies. Small and great, everybody eventually dies. Now, when you have been privileged with knowledge, expertise, or responsibility, what really matters to you? What should matter to you during that period that you are here on earth? So engage our leaders in discussing about legacy. That when you have resources that can take care of yourself and your family, you have a responsibility for the service of others. Because you will die. You will leave it all. what will be the purpose of your existence? And what will be the purpose of the endowment of the privileges you had if they were not for the service of others? Okay. So this is the core component of leadership training that we engage into our participants to reshape their minds into commitment to the service of their communities, to the service of our continent. And that is the gap that we are feeling, that until now, we hadn't seen an institution that is doing it the same way. Now, one school cannot teach the whole continent. So we developed a strategy that once we establish ourselves, we must build a network with other institutions across the continent, a network of individuals that also think and feel the same way and have this commitment to the service of our continent. And that's what we are building as, let me call it, a scale-up model to reach out to the 54 countries of this continent.
We hope this is continuous, the chain that you're talking about.
That's correct. Yes. So to achieve the change that we are looking at, then that's the network that we are building now. It connects also to something else. As you know, we are hosting the Africa Mindset Reset Forum here in Kigali, and it's the first time. So by convening this forum, we are actually bringing to the surface the conversation about the character of leadership and the right mindset of leaders. And in that process, we hope to reach an even wider audience than the students that we are able to bring at ASG, whether for the degree or non-degree programs. And through that process, then a momentum will be created, a network across the continent, and we begin to see the mindset change that we aspire for begin to happen.
Okay. So you talked about identity, knowing who you are. And this brings me to the question, developing a new generation of African leaders. You speak of shaping a new generation of African leaders. What qualities, values, or competences must tomorrow leaders pass that existing education and leadership systems that are not sufficiently developing? What are the values and the competences?
So the values and competences that we aim to develop that is different is one that transcends the technical competencies that many universities and schools provide. Look, a lot of universities and schools are doing a great job in training people to become experts in technical skills, right? What we aim to do is to take those experts and give them something else. That's why the African School of Governance is a graduate school. It's a professional school because what we want is to provide something extra to the individual who is already trained. In fact, to the individual who is already working because they are professionals, they are in their fields, but now we want to make them leaders. So you are a journalist. We want to take the journalist in you and make you a leader that understands what is responsible journalism. How do you use journalism to the service of the public good? How do you do journalism fairly? How do you do it sustainably? How do you do it conscious of right and wrong? How do you do it ethically? And how do you do it mindful of the fact that you are a privileged person that should be using this privilege to serve others? So that's leadership, but you would already be trained technically in your field.
Okay.
That's the extra that we provide.
Yes. So now this gets me to this question now. The governance, challenges of African School of Governance seeks to address. What do you guys seek to address? The Africa faces challenges such as weak institutions, limited accountability, corruption, and policy implementation gaps. Which of these does ASG consider most urgent, and how does it intend to move from diagnosing them and helping them be solved?
So this is a very important question because we look at every leader as an individual.
Yeah.
And our premise is that many challenges that you see magnified as institutional challenges or as societal challenges, the origin is at the individual level. And it means also the solution is at the individual level. Because me, the individual, my beliefs, my values, and my character determines how I behave. It determines the habits I acquire.
Surely.
And those habits become the routines that drive me consciously and subconsciously. And they begin to normalize what is wrong if I am carrying wrong mindsets. The flip side of it, when you have a good leader that has the right mindset, values, that is ethical, that believes in right and understands what is wrong, that leader will inspire others. That leader will build institutions that are built on values of justice, fairness, equity, and others. And that leader will have the mindset that is committed to results, right? Because everybody can make a plan. Anybody can buy or write a strategy. But the discipline that is required to get a strategy off the ground to see results is what makes a difference to the impact. And so that is where we aim to address things at the individual level, at creating mindsets that generate the routines and habits that are results oriented.
Now, how can the African continent turn the ideas discussed at this forum into practical action and create lasting change?
It's a good point. The Africa Mindset Reset Forum is the first of its kind that I have seen, and we are addressing a subject that is at the center of socio-economic transformation, which is mindset. Think about it. As an individual, you can be resigned and pessimistic, or you can be upbeat and optimistic. What would you choose to be?
Optimistic.
Of course.
Definitely.
So, as a leader, you can be focused on, oh, I have no resources, we are poor. There is scarcity, and what can I do? You begin to resign and focus on fighting over little things. Or you can be optimistic and focus on plenty and see silver lining around even the hardest challenges and embrace them as opportunities for you to change life. What would you wish between the two? Of course, you would wish to be focused on the plenty and silver lining opportunities and embrace that. As a leader, you can compromise and take whatever you get, whether it's substandard or low standard, or you can actually push for excellence and raise the bar for higher standards. It's very obvious what you would prefer. Unfortunately, a lot of people settle for less, settle for low standard, for mediocrity. Whether you are recruiting people, whether you are looking for results when you are managing people, or whether you are pushing yourself for service, settling for less and not pushing yourself for more and excellence is a negative mindset. So there are many things that hold us back, yet which can be triggered by the flip side focus on motivating yourself and motivating the people you lead and the communities you are part of. And so what we are aiming to achieve at this forum is to reflect on some of these negative mindsets and tune in to the opposite, which is the right positive mindsets that collectively, once people begin to embrace them, actually you can collectively achieve a lot. And at the continental level, we have mobilized a lot of young people, who are going to be attending this conference, and they will be noticing some of these mindsets that have been seeing around themselves, and we want them to be angry and say, no more of these negative mindsets. We can do it better, and this is the movement we aim to trigger at the forum.
Yeah. So in closing, if you had to convince a young African frustrated by the continent's governance challenges that ASG can contribute by changing their future, what would you tell them?
Come to school at ASG. We have a lot of opportunities here at ASG. We have degree programs, master's degree program, the master's in public administration. We have the executive masters in leadership and governance. We have a series of short courses, executive courses, that we train leaders to understand how best they can transform their lives and transform their communities or organizations. We have networks of young leaders, networks participating in fora like this Africa Mindset Reset Forum. We want you to be part of the ASG community because we can touch your life and it can make a difference.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Francis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.